This is a little excerpt from a research talk that we gave when we wrote the paper about this. This stands for pedagogic content knowledge. So it's the intersection of knowledge about how to teach generically and knowledge of your content, the content you're teaching. So when you blend those, then you're learning how to teach what you're teaching. And that's what PCK is. And it's a real thing in education literature. And there is a classic paper on it by this person. PCK is specific to the topic or the content you're teaching. So there's PCK for literature, or geography, or math, or computer science, or, computer science algorithms courses, or, teaching gender mag or whatever. So it's very specific. And not only is it specific to the topic, but also the audience, the particular population of students that you're trying to reach in this class, whatever your tomorrow's class is. And therefore, if you're going to measure it, then you have to, of course, measure it in those ways. When we were working on our research study, what we wanted to know is what PCK do teachers need, faculty need to teach inclusive design. When we did it, we collected information from a whole bunch of computer science faculty members. Well, not a whole bunch, 8, I believe, 9, I'll tell you in a minute. And also information science faculty. And so these were the professors and these were the students. And what they were doing is taking bits and pieces of Gender Mag and integrating them into the various courses they were teaching. Yeah, it was 9 faculty members. We call them teacher researchers in our paper because not only were they teaching, but they were also, much like you, trying to figure out, what's the right way to do this. So everything they were doing was sort of a blend of teaching and researching. They were at 8 U.S. universities, and so all told, it involved 467 students. And so, yeah, a bunch of teachers who have these IDs. Many of them taught various HCI courses. A couple of them taught seminars. Here's some more HCI. And then several of them were doing software engineering courses. So all of these, almost all of these were junior and above. I think the only exception was the ethics of technology. I think that one is just for whenever people take it. Yes, okay, and here are the various levels of where students were and how many students were in each of these various classes. Okay, let's see here. So we did an analysis of the kinds of things that people ran into, students. And so here's one example. There's a phrase called theory of mind, which describes someone's ability to believe that they know, that to kind of step in the shoes of someone else. It's called, it's called theory of mind because it means I have a theory of what you're thinking. Anyway, and so this is something that you really need with Gender Mag because you have to be able to think of things through Abby's perspective or Pat's perspective or Tim's perspective. And so some students had trouble doing that. And another one is some students started taking what the faculty members were saying and turning them into a propensity to over stereotype, saying things like women do this and men do that. Now, since the time that they did this work, which was 2017 mostly, we've greatly emphasized all 3 personas, and I think that's helped to make this problem not be as big a deal as it was then. But this is another moment for me to emphasize to you that whenever you can either use 1 persona in your work or you can use 3 personas in your work, but never just use 2. Let's see here. So then in our paper, we recorded how many instances there were. As you can see, for most of these, the number of instances was a pretty small proportion of the students that it happened to, but it did arise in a reasonable fraction of the courses. So what that tells you is any of these things could come up in a course that you're teaching. And that's why I'm giving you the PCK. And of course, not only do these matter to you because nobody likes pushback, but they're also risks to learning. So your students, if they feel like this is not, not a good thing in one way or another, or I don't get it, or I can't do it, then that's getting in the way of them learning. As a result of the various ways that these faculty members found to overcome one or another of these things, we reported on these 11 PCKs, and these are just a bunch of check marks that shows all the evidence that they came from. And 4 of them that I'll just talk about are these 4: framing, credibility, theory, mind, and handling resistance. By the way, this paper was published at ICER, one of the main computer science education conferences. So starting with PCK 1 and 2, this is framing, basically people wondering, is this important? Is this useful? One set of students said, well, is this even different from anything I've already learned? What makes it different from just any other cognitive walkthrough? And this was a student who said this. What one of the faculty members said, this is a teacher, T is for teacher, is they started off by giving the paper on stereotyping as reading before the lecture. And so they did it as sort of a flipped classroom to have the students have thought about things before they ever started discussing them. So that was one of the things that they did to overcome it. PCK 6, some people have a lot of trouble doing this. They just have so much trouble standing in someone else's shoes. And so, or they just forget to do it. And so one of the things that one of the faculty members does is and I've picked this up as well, is I just say, your job is to channel Abby, become Abby. Don't think about anyone except Abby. Your brain becomes Abby's brain. And so that's why we spend time studying that persona before we start on a Gender Mag session. Another thing that I do, let's see if that's on here. No, it's not. Here's something else I do. When I hear people doing a Gender Mag session and I hear them say, okay, if I saw this, I would do this. Then if I'm coaching them, if I'm in that session, I say, well, I don't care what you would do. I only care what Abby would do, or if they're using Tim or Pat, then I only care what Tim is doing or Pat is doing. And so I don't let them use the word I. Similar words that I don't let them use are you, or the user, or people. I just keep saying, I don't care about people. I only care about Abby. And I have heard people change their answers midstream when I do that. Okay, let's see here. Resistant learners. So one person was really worried about stereotyping, and we've seen it. Some people are not taking Abby seriously, or Pat or Tim. They'll make them into caricatures of whatever they really are. And so among the things that really work, I've heard people say, well, this isn't worth anything because you can never have 100% perfect interface. So the key here is to agree. Whenever anybody is worried about anything like stereotyping or it's not perfect or whatever, the key is always agree first, and then say, why that is still okay. So here I said, you're right, but we're not aiming for 100%. We're just aiming for better. Just like when you debug, you're not aiming for 100% perfect software, but you're trying to get the bugs that you know about out. So that really helps. The primary benefits of inclusion. Another thing that really helps is the secondary benefits of inclusion, basically the economics. And so here you can apply to their professionalism as future professionals You know, it's like if you work for a company and you say, let's throw away, you know, some say 50% of the market, you know, you're not going to keep your job very long. So that's also a very good motivator for this. Yeah, that's that PCK. Okay, and then I was just going to show you a little bit about the data. This is an awesome one. At the end of one class, one professor asked students these questions. The gender mag method found meaningful issues. We changed our design. I can do a gender mag evaluation in the future when I create software. I want to bring some of this in. And so these were on a 5-point Likert scale. 132 students answered, and as you can see, the scores were quite high.